This podcast is brought to you by Chad T. Wilson Law Firm.
So you said you hate class 4.
If you put class 4 on everything, you're going to go out of business.
What the problem is here is the insurance companies hide behind that rating. Why are they putting a cosmetic exclusion on a roof then? You can't get a cosmetic exclusion on your car.
You said that class 4 can sell you out of the job.
I can't sell his shit. It's too good. I'll be out of business.
Class 4s are bulletproof vests. Class 3s are almost bulletproof vests. I think class 3s will honestly sell you out of a market. I'm intrigued to see what the comments say after this, because now they get more than just a 5-minute clip. They actually get to see what the company's about and stuff, and not just go, oh, I hope the bearded guy goes out of business.
All right, brother, let's do this. I feel like I'm talking to a very famous roofer today. Even Malarkey recognized you several times.
Oh, I know. I feel like a lot of that clip was taken out of context.
Well, we posted the full clip.
I know. But like everyone's like looking at it like we're trying to do the client wrong.
Yeah. No, I like it. Well, that's why we're doing this. Let's do the full podcast. First, before we get to the whole controversial Malarkey clip, let's start with your story. Let's start with how did you get into roofing? What's your background, brother?
Yeah, so I've been in business, since I was like 15 years old. I started like every young entrepreneur doing like lawn and landscaping in the neighborhood and everything like that. And when I was in college, the list, my mowing list and landscaping list had gotten to very high-end net worth clientele and stuff like that. And roofers would always hit me up and be like, hey, if you want to earn some referrals, push us this way. So I watched what was going on, and this was like in my super early 20s. I'm 33 now, so 13 years ago. And I was like, these guys, like putting a roof on didn't seem like that difficult. So I started looking into it, and we were already in like the landscape construction world. And we were already getting to doing full service. If some people needed some siding and stuff like that, we had contractors that we worked with. So I started talking to a few of my clients, and I was like, hey, if your property ever gets hit with hail, would you let me do your roof? And it just started from there. So that was in Omaha, Nebraska. It was under High Point Roofing. It's still around. My buddy Wayne still runs the company. They're predominantly like an exteriors company now. So roofing, I'd say, is 50 to 60% of their stuff. And then they do window siding, all of that. We're down in Central Texas, right outside of Austin. We work from Dallas to San Antonio. And then we have a guy that does roofs in Vail, Colorado. And then we have one guy that still sells roofs in Omaha. So
what makes Austin Hill County market different? I've been there a few times, but would like to hear from you. How's it different from the rest of the country?
I would say like the Austin Hill Country market is very, I'm trying to think of the word for the demographic. It varies so drastically, because you can be talking to one client and doing, a Ludowici roof, talking to them about a Ludowici roof. And then the next client is bare means, like you're talking to them about a natural shadow roof. So like the vast difference in the demographics here is, one of the things that makes it very unique to sell here. Plus, we don't get a ton of weather. Like we get a little bit of weather, but nothing like Dallas does, where you get 7 hailstorms a year. So that's what I like about Austin. It's a very unique area. We're doing TPO, standing seam, like what you and me talked about on that marketing call. Every type of roofing system we're doing down here. Da Vinci, Ludowici, colored standing seam, Galvalume standing seam, designer shingles, class 4, class 3 shingles, builder grade shingles. So, and then
do you listen to the client to create a demand, or do you push products? Like, do you listen to your customers to tell you which one they want and offer them from variety, or you have your favorites?
No, 100%. So when we go out and talk to a client, it was really funny. One of my sales guys and I were just talking about this. We had a roofer that would just like would not listen to the client. And it was just like they wanted a bid, a class 3 bid. And the roofer was like, no, you have to put an insurance claim in. You have to put an insurance claim in. And all this person wanted was a bid for their roof.
Mm.
And it goes back to the customer is always right. So if a customer comes to me and goes, hey, I want a class 4 shingle, we'll talk about what we talked about in the malarkey clip that went viral, and weigh those pros and cons with the customer. But no, if I'm pushing any product, if we're talking class 4, we talk GAF, Owens Corning, malarkey, and then what else, what that is, then you can talk about the designers if you're talking class 4. But most of the time, the clients are just talking class 3 in the Austin market. That's what everyone pushes. When we go out to a house, we'll do a good, better, best. So that's a natural shadow with like a silver pledge warranty on it. So 10-year workmanship, and then a manufacturer non-prorated warranty, then a better, which is class 3. And then the best is either a class 3 with the golden pledge or another manufacturer warranty, because we do have multiple certifications with manufacturers, or going into the class 4 or metal.
Last time I talked to you, you've been talking in squares, and I find it funny. So usually roofers like talking revenue, and why do you always talk in squares? How many squares you install and your metrics of conversation?
So I know our margin on every single thing. So like I know our set margin for every single type of roof, what we net on every single type of roof. So I don't like the revenue stuff. When guys are like, oh, we did $10 million a year. Like, you want to talk about revenue? Cool. I just got nominated to be on the Inc. 5000 list. We don't need to talk about revenue. What I look at is what the volume is, because that's what I like seeing. I like to see what we're doing for volume, because I already know what our set margin is on each roof. So like we have a do not go below margin on everything. So when you and me were talking, all I start looking at is like, okay, this is cool. We've got a couple thousand squares backlogged and stuff like that. And, some other roofers like you and me were talking about, they go, oh, we did $5-10 million this year. Well, I can get that equation just going off of what we're doing, but that's what we were talking about before.
Got it. Why don't you broadcast how big your company is, like in dollars? Do you ever share how big?
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't have a problem, when someone talks to me. We're a middle to larger scale company in the Austin metro area. We do very well for ourselves with a very tight-knit group of guys that work here. And I pride myself on that. So yeah, I don't put it out publicly what we do, but we do okay for ourselves. And I like just being, I don't want to say we work in the shadows, but like we don't broadcast that we're this monster. We are very good at what we do, which is upper high-end homes. We're very comparable. If you've looked up our website and stuff like that, we have a meter beat guarantee and stuff like that, because at the end of the day, the one thing I always want to do to the customer, and I was laughing when I was reading the comments on our YouTube video that went viral and the Facebook video, everyone's like, I hope this guy goes out of business. And I was like, wow, that hurt my feelings, because the last thing I want to do is like do bad to a customer, and we're always trying to give the customer the best bang for the buck. So
Wow.
like,
That's a perfect transition. Let's go there. Let's go to class 4 debate. So you said you hate class 4. What did
I
you mean,
do.
and why did you say?
I hate anything that's class 4 rated, because what the problem is here is the insurance companies hide behind that rating. And I think that's what the problem is. In Texas, a lot of these roofers that were commenting on this, you looked into it, they're not in areas that have cosmetic exclusions yet. they're still getting to be popular around the whole United States. And someone's probably going to, clown on me for saying that. Oh, they're everywhere. But, like farmers, they're doing metal exclusions now. So like gutters, garage doors, valley metal, stuff like that's not covered. And going to these shingles, I have no problem selling someone a Malarkey Vista, a Malarkey Windsor, a UHDZ, an Owens Corning Storm shingle. But the thing that customers need to do if we do that is they need to take that savings and they need to put it in like an crud account, because that roof is going to need to be replaced. I know you and me talked about it and joked about it, saying it's like the lifetime roof. But in Texas, roofs don't last more than 20 years. The weather here is just not optimal for it. And so if we do a class 4 shingle, and let's say we put a GAF golden pledge on it, which is going to 30 years of workmanship, like, what happens? One of my guys and I were talking about this today when I was going to run out standing seam panels for one of our crews. What happens if that house gets 1.5-inch hail and it's a class 4, so it's rated for, 2-inch hail? But what if it hits at a certain wind speed? So does that, when the manufacturer gets involved with it, the insurance company is going to say, hey, it's under 2-inch hail, it's all cosmetic damage. If the shingle starts failing, then you go back to the manufacturer. What is it going to be? Is it going to be wind damage? Is it going to be hail damage? Or are they going to stand behind it? So that's why we were talking about where if the customer is going to go to that class 4 option, they need to save that money that they get, which is 12 to 15% usually of savings from their insurance premium, and just put it into a fund. But no one saves these days. Everything is just finance and payment.
True. So is your issue with the product, the warranty, or insurance coverage? Between the three, who you have the biggest problem with?
The biggest issue is insurance. I mean, like you see State Farm coming out with pamphlets now, like giving it to the customer when they deny their roof. And like we've talked about too, if you and me have our pickups parked outside, okay, and a hailstorm rolls through, they're going to pay to redo all of the panels on the truck that get hit with hail. Why are they putting a cosmetic exclusion on a roof then? You can't get a cosmetic exclusion on your car if you have a loan on it. So why can they do a cosmetic exclusion on a metal roof that has a mortgage on it? Like that's where I'm at with this. I love the idea of class 4s because in essence, if the insurance company were to play fair, that would be the best product to put a customer in for their roof. But as we see Allstate getting sued, State Farm getting sued, I mean, you've done a couple of videos on it. Like, these guys don't play fair, and it's because they're taking a bloodbath on these claims. So my opinion is, hey, put them in a class 3 that gives them hail resistance, give them a golden pledge or a silver pledge or a preferred protection warranty or the emerald warranty from Malarkey. And then when it comes to time when a hailstorm hits it or the roof fails, they're not financing $30,000 for a roof. They're financing a deductible. But like, I get where that comes off saying, oh, we're the greedy roofers. But in my mind, it looks like, hey, we're trying to take care of you and make your blow in the 20-year lifespan a little bit cheaper. Because if you had to pay 2 deductibles over 20 years, that's still going to be cheaper than that roof if you had to pay it retail. Would you agree on that?
100%.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's where I'm at. That's why I dislike class 4s. I mean, it's so cool seeing how tough they are. But the insurance company is taking advantage of that, and the customer's not knowledgeable enough on that because everyone is selling, oh, we'll upgrade you to a class 4 roof.
But what the scenario that we discussed in that video is my next question. If a roof survives a hail, isn't it a win?
No, it is 100% a win. And that's, I think 100% you and me agree on that. If that house gets hit with hail. But the thing that I'm wondering is, what's that shingle going to look like in 3 or 4 years when it's out of the statute of limitations for the homeowner to get? Because right now it looks great.
But if it doesn't have a damage, it doesn't have a damage.
Correct. But like some of those roofs that we looked at had not had heavy rains afterwards. What I'm saying is what I would like to see
So
is
you're not a believer in Vista surviving after hails yet. So you see that there's no damage now, but you don't know. Actually, you know what? What's funny? I went to YouTube and I looked at some roofers posting video inspections of Vista, and it was a guy out of Colorado. So he showed us a roof from 2016 storm, and he showed us, he's like, we replaced this roof with the Vista. You can see no damage, and it's like 8-9 years later, and he's showing like the metals, the dents, the skylights, everything got dented, but the shingles are fine. So, but I see that you are not a believer yet. That is 10 years from now, the roof is still going to be okay.
no, and I think the way, like with the SBS product that Malarkey is working with, I think that's the way of the future. The SBS background of a Malarkey Vista shingle, I think, is going to be the future of all shingles. And I think the reason why I just don't, I haven't seen that video you're talking about, but from what I see down here in Texas, granted, we don't have a lot of class 4 roofs out there. The roofs really show a lot of damage 3 to 6 years after the hailstorm. Like the people that didn't, like I was just out at one yesterday inspecting it, and granted that was a builder grade shingle, but like that's what I'd like to see. I'm not that seasoned yet. I haven't been around 20 years in the industry and installed, Vista roofs since 16 like that guy. But there is the place for the Malarkey Vista shingle 100%. And I think it's a good product. We're installing one on Friday this week. The one thing that I drive home is just what the insurance company is going to do about it.
There's one more, and this is the last one, I promise you.
Okay.
The last controversial statement that you made, and I want to give you an opportunity to answer it or clarify. You said that class 4 can sell you out of the job. Can you explain that?
So yes, I can explain that. So what I was saying is the class 4s can sell you out of like an area. So we haven't seen this, but we were talking about, sorry about that, 1 second. Let me rephrase that. So sorry, my call came in, but what we were talking about with that in certain regions, like I was talking with GAF about this in Western Texas, there was, or West Texas, there was a gentleman that was selling only Armor Shield, which is their class 4. His market share stayed like this, and all of his competitors' market shares went like this. And that's what I was saying about that is if you're doing class 4s only, it could definitely sell you out of a market. But that market will come around at some point because you're going to have to do it retail. So if you're going to be in business for 20 to 30 years, you're going to have repeat customers. And I think class 3s will honestly sell you out of a market because like class 3s, they see bigger hail than 2-inch and they hold off too. So that's where I'm at with it is, class 4s are bulletproof vests. Class 3s are almost bulletproof vests. And the thing I like about the class 3 is it's, hey, you're only good up to 1.5 hail. So if that map says that, the insurance company doesn't have a leg to stand on. And that's where I want to put it, as I want to position the client to have the best argument against the insurance company. So, they don't sign their life away for 12% a year, which usually equals $300 to $500. And that's where it's at. But like selling us out of a job, I mean, that's how I felt about, standing seam, and that's how a few of my buddies felt about it. But, people don't like seeing dented up metal roofs. So even if the customer doesn't have cosmetic coverage, 80% of the time after a hailstorm comes through, they usually put a new metal roof on because they don't like staring at dents. But all
I
the
see.
insurance companies have taken advantage of that too, and most of them say you have to have a hole through the metal roof to classify it as structural damage now.
I see. Like, so you brought up cosmetic exclusions as well. How big of a problem are those becoming in your market?
I would say they're a pretty big problem because I've seen some serious roof damage done that insurance companies have hidden behind um, those cosmetic exclusions, and I know we're going to have issues with those roofs down the road. And they're those roofs that are at that level, they are with litigation. Like I've watched the customer go, well, what are we supposed to do here? And I go, that is completely up to you. And they're like, well, we want to sue our insurance company. I go, I can't tell you to do that or not do that. But like, if that's how you feel, then that's what you should do.
But do homeowners really understand what they're giving up with the cosmetic exclusions? Can you explain that to the homeowner? Because a lot of people just don't know.
So what we do when we go talk to a client, and that's what one thing I was going to talk about before we ended this podcast. So like when a client comes to me and goes, hey, I want to go to class 4 or I want to go to metal. My first conversation to them is if it's, hey, we want to go to metal, I always go, hey, is this going to be your last house? Because going to metal is usually double the cost of shingle roofs in a competitive market. And if they go yes, then we start going, okay, hey, who's your insurance company you're going to insure this with? Can you get USA? Can you get Farmers? Like, can you still get some of the companies that offer marring coverage or cosmetic coverage? Because when you go to a metal roof, that's a huge investment on a house. You know, they're 50, 60, $100,000 plus sometimes. And to have no coverage the day you put that roof on is wild. So we go and we talk to the customer. We give them a little document, that says, hey, this is what you need to ask your insurance agent and stuff like that, just to help them along with it to cover, like, kind of CYA them. Because the last thing I want to do, and I had this happen to a customer 2 years ago, put a brand new metal roof on a house that he was building, like a spec house. Insurance agent wrote him a policy. He didn't know what it was or anything like this. I didn't put the roof on, but I got brought in afterwards. And he goes, hey, I need to go look at this roof. Got smoked with 3-inch hail, dents all over it. And I go, well, can you put an insurance claim in? He goes, no, I have a cosmetic exclusion, I found out. And I was like, oh my gosh. So he's going to sell this $1.5 million house, and he had to come out of pocket 70 grand for a new standing seam roof. And that's what makes it wild to me, is a home inspector can say, hey, this roof is deemed needing to be replaced, but the insurance company can fall behind and say this is cosmetic damage. That's where this whole thing goes back to with the class 4s and everything like that. Because it's too, I don't want to say it's too new, but we're watching so much stuff unfold in the industry right now. That's why I'm kind of trying to position my clients with the class 3, because it's a safe avenue. Like, we know if they start getting really aggressive against these class 4s, our customer has some insurance protection. But like, I want it to be known when we were talking, and you and me, my best interest is our customer. Like, we're not going to go out of business like all those guys said, which was hilarious to watch. Like, I hope this guy goes out of business. I saw one that was, I'm going to show people this video when I'm competing against them. I was like, this is awesome. But I was like, man, if you knew who we were, like, you'd understand what we did. But like, my best interest when I push someone from a class 3 or a class 4 down to a class 3 is to give them the insurance, like, to make sure they have some coverage with their insurance company. Because you can tell them, don't sign that cosmetic exclusion, don't sign that discount. And we both know the first thing they're going to do when their policy renewal comes up and their thing goes, let's say 10% up, they're going to go, what's my discount options? And they're going to go, well, you got this class 4 roof. Why don't you sign this? And then that they just gave away the whole roof value pretty much.
I see. Would you ever recommend class 4? And if you would, what situation would you recommend class 4?
So, I believe it or not, I just recommended class 4 to a nursing home. So, good acquaintance of mine owns a pretty large nursing home out in the hill country. Builder grade shingle on it. The roof is completely trashed. His family doesn't want to take over the nursing home, so he's positioning it right now to sell in like the next 5 to 10 years. So what we said on that one was, hey, let's do a UHDZ or an armor shield with a golden pledge warranty. So it's going to cover him up to 2-inch hail. He's not going to own it by the time it needs to get replaced again. So this is where that lifetime roof system, like where you and me were talking about this is a perfect example of the lifetime roofing system. They're not going to own it in 10 years. Put a silver pledge, golden pledge, preferred, emerald, whatever we want to do, class 4, and it's transferable, up to 10 years. I think that's the perfect situation for that. And then that expenditure, I mean, it's going to be a $300,000 roof. That's an expenditure that like he can look at and go, okay, I can dollar cost average this over the next 10 years. It makes sense. But if he was going to keep it for more than 10 years, then I would have started talking to him about maybe like galvanized metal or something like that. Because, that's going to be your toughest product to put on a roof, I think, and it's probably going to last the longest. It might not look the best when hail hits it, but it's going to be the longest lasting thing you could put on there for cost effectiveness.
I see. Let's talk about insurance and warranties. You said the whole system can feel flawed because manufacturers, insurance companies, contractors, homeowners are all trying to avoid liability, which I 100% agree. But where do you see the biggest breakdown in that warranty and insurance after the fact? Where it usually fails?
So I know you've had some videos where you've talked about, hey, how's this warranty stuff going to play out and stuff like that and everything like that. And I completely understand there, like where your point of view is on that. Where we are being the master elites and, preferred contractor, emerald, whatever, we've actually gotten to see a lot of these roofs get replaced under these warranties for manufacturer defects. I won't say who we've replaced most of them with, but we've done numerous ones. And I was very impressed with all the manufacturers we've dealt with. We've dealt with all the big manufacturers on a replacement, on a certified warranty replacement. I think the big shortcomings are honestly coming from the insurance companies. Because these reps for the manufacturers, and I know you have your own material line too, and I like what you're doing with it, trying to show like the cost to bring to the customers and stuff like that by giving us a better price. But like these reps like honestly really want the homeowner to have the best thing at the end of the day. They're not talking about, oh, we need to push another 10,000 squares of shingles. If something goes wrong, they're like, how do we make this customer happy so they are a lifetime customer with us? So I see the biggest shortcomings right now with insurance. The manufacturers, I think, are trying the hardest they can, but also I've never been on that end where you hear the horror stories all the time about the manufacturer saying, oh, this isn't us. And like, that's where I'm getting a little bit scared because insurance company doesn't come to the table. Homeowner goes, well, I've got this warranty. Well, then the reps come out and they start pointing fingers at the insurance, it's like, okay, and the only person that loses there is the homeowner.
100%. What's your real opinion on the roofing warranties? Do manufacturers, like I know you work with all three.
Yeah.
Do we have bad players? Do you have companies in Texas who does not honor their warranties and it's like known fact? Or they're all pretty decent in your opinion?
Like manufacturers or like roofing companies?
Manufacturers.
So like like we've talked about, we're a big GAF OC malarkey house. Like that's where we're at. We'll sell certainty, and I've never done IKO or Tamco. Just never really had a customer come to me talking about that. GAF, Owens Corning, Certainteed, and Malarkey all stand behind their product. And I will go one above on all of them too. I've personally been handed clients from all of those manufacturers with roofing companies that have gone out of business in Texas, and they have asked us, hey, can you make this right? Just tell us what we need. Like hey, this was going on, this company went under. Just figure out what we need to do to make this customer happy. So like they care down here. And I think it is because we're such a big powerhouse down here, like as a general demographic for the roofing industry. So there's a lot of case studies that could be done down here and a lot of bad publicity, I think, that could happen if a manufacturer didn't stand behind their product down here.
Got it. What about contractors? Do you think the contractors oversell their warranties? Because we also have a lot of contractors who are pushing and leading, lifetime, 50 years, but it's not realistic. And then average contractor staying in business less than 5 years, so those roofs essentially don't have warranties on them because contractors out of the picture.
Well, and this is going to play off of another thing of yours too. That is a very good whole topic of discussion because that's what frustrates me so much is like we'll go in and talk to a client with like the meter beat guarantee and we'll be pricing a roof that has like a silver pledge. I'm using GAF because I've got a GAF email up right here because they just notified us that their warranties are going up. So that's why I'm saying that. But we'll go in there and say, hey, our workmanship warranty is 10 years. Well, they'll go, well, this roofer's giving me a 20-year warranty. Okay, awesome. Are they doing that or is it the manufacturer that's doing that? Because if Joe Blow goes out of business in, like you said, 5 to 7 years, ma'am, you have no warranty. If I pass away tomorrow, you just call GAF and go, hey, my roofer's no longer here. What do I do? And they bring you a new roofer. Like that's got the same certifications or better than what you have. So yeah, what you're saying, like the lifetime warranties and stuff like that, I hate that because the majority of the people that push the lifetime warranties are the guys that are out of business the soonest. Like our base workmanship warranty is 5 years. And that's because the first big rain, we're going to know if anything failed. Like that's my whole thing is like, hey, if you put on a roof correctly and we put them on like the Midwest, even though we're in Texas, so we use ice and water in a lot of areas that people don't use down here. We go down to bare decking. A lot of guys just go right over the felt down here, which it's just wild what gets portrayed down here in the Texas market.
Agreed. Let's talk about market and sales. You don't door knock, which is anomaly. Why not?
Well, let's go back real quick to that. We'll go to the door knocking thing, but I forgot. I wanted to bring one thing up. The directory thing, I really like with those warranties. So I'm not trying to push your product and stuff like that, but like that was one reason I wanted to get with directory is because I want the customer to have as much like protection as they can have. And with your products, like the I think it's the $30,000 deposit and then the $250,000 project warranty. Yep. That's what really drove me to start talking to you, like to spawn this acquaintance or friendship, whatever you want to call it. But I was like, this is cool because you've got Angie's List, you've got all these people. Anyone Joe Blow can go on there and just bid a roof, and guess what? They go out of business in 5 years. Like you said, no protection. So, but yeah, let's go. I just wanted to, say that because that is one thing that I like because it's super cool. It's being able to go into the customer and talk to them and go, hey, if something were to go sideways here, you are protected. Like that is the worst case scenario. Because like we try to make everything right 100% because we carry a lot of insurance. We're bonded up to very large numbers. I try to make sure everything is right on every single project or make it right. But yeah, going back to the door knocking. So I've never liked door knocking ever. Um, we tried it a little bit back in Nebraska, and I absolutely hated it because I always grew anything we did organically or with a little bit of paid media. And the way we grew so quickly was how good of jobs we did. So it was like, hey, to the customer, if you like how we did a roof, and this was in hailstorms and stuff like this, our growth definitely was helped because we had a couple big storms and we did a lot of really good jobs that I would say we did a good job on. We'd go to the homeowner and go, hey, do you have some friends that got hit by the storm? If so, we'll give you a couple $100 to, a couple $1,000, depending on what size the roof is. And all these people were stoked about how we handled their insurance claims and helped them. And that just led to referrals. And then when you get into the retail times of the market, like right now, we're working at 80-90% retail. Everyone's like, hey, I heard you put on Joe Blow's roof. I want to introduce you to my friend, blah, 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 and all that. And we still offer those referrals even when it's not hail season. And that's how it's definitely kept us out of door knocking. The sales guys that I have over here are older than me. So my sales force is predominantly in their 40s. And they have a lot of connections with like real estate, insurance, stuff like that. So they get fed a lot of referral stuff. And that's really how we've stayed out of door knocking. And like what we talked about, we'll knock the door on each side of the house. But that's just to say, hey, if we have debris blow off, can we get in your backyard? And we'll leave them a business card. So if we miss something, and once in a blue moon, those lead to things, but we're never like, hey, can we get up on your roof? It's always just, hey, we're tearing this roof off. It's going to be a little bit messy, even with the catch-all system, because like we use it once in a blue moon. It's going to be messy. Tearing off a roof, especially when it's the old asphalt felt or, the asphalt tar paper, it flakes off in Texas. It's a mess. So that's the farthest we go door knocking.
Why are people shopping roof estimates so hard right now? Like, do you feel like people getting more estimates than they used to?
I honestly think it goes with the way where the economy is. So like during COVID and stuff like that, it would be you were maybe competing against one or two people. And people were really just going off of who can get it done quicker. It wasn't the price. It was just, hey, can you get the material, one? When can you start? And are these products comparable? And then you started seeing the economy, and that's where we pivoted in like 23. I started seeing the economy start getting a little wiggy at the end of 23, and I was like, okay, this is going to become a retail game. Like, there's not going to be any storms. This is going to have to be like where we have to compress our margins and talk to our suppliers and get our pricing more aggressive. And we started buying a lot more bulk material at that point. So when we do go into those, hey, I've got 5 estimates. I mean, we've had a couple people that have gotten 7, 8 estimates, Dimitri. I mean, and on those, there's no touch in the lowest guy on those because like as bad as I want to say, like I don't want to say this, when we go into those, usually someone's using stolen product. It's so cheap. Like, I mean, like you're talking a roof, let's say is $18,000 and that's at like let's say a very aggressive, like 22-23% margin with compressed pricing on volume, like buying large amounts of volume. And some guy will be at like 10 grand. We both know that there's not that much margin in that roof.
Is it a race to the bottom in Texas right now? Is it a truly economy thing, or is just oversaturated market with too many offers from cheap guys?
I don't think it's oversaturated. I think we're right at that borderline, but the the oversaturation, it kind of self-corrects itself down here from what I'm seeing and what I've talked to people about, because I've got some mentors in the industry that are way bigger than us, and they own big offices in Texas, and some of them are bought out by private equity now. And what I think it is, I don't think it's a race to the bottom. I think it's just people not knowing what their margins are. And I think that's what's happening right now, because all the supply houses, at least in Texas, like their credit departments are cracking down on people that don't pay their bills. Like we pay our bill, it says, let's say, what is it? It's June 9th. So it said 5/31. I pay our bill in full on 5/30 every month. But, I've talked to multiple suppliers we deal with, and like they've got some, I won't say who it is, but some of them have upwards of 15-20% of accounts in delinquency right now.
Wow.
And so like, that's where I'm getting at with all this. I don't think it's a race to the bottom. I think these guys don't know their margins. They get into a roof and it goes upside down, and they just keep kicking it down the road, and then they're looking at a six-figure at the supply house or something.
How do you win when you're not the cheapest bid?
Usually, if we're not the cheapest bid, it's usually like, and this might sound kind of funny, but it's usually personality. Like just talking to the people and, telling them, hey, I instill in all of my guys that sell putting on a roof like it's in the Midwest. So ice and water around perimeters, anywhere that's leak prone, under eaves. And, a lot of the time just kind of going over what the stereotypical Texas roof looks like. Like, hey, this guy might be cheaper than me. I don't know what he does for his roofing process, but they're cutting corners somewhere. Because if I could be at that price, I would. And a lot of the time I'll tell the customer, like, hey, if it's 100% price driven, I think you need to go with those people. And a lot of the time the customer will self-correct themselves and just go, hey, I don't want to go with the lowest guy. I want to be in that low to middle section. I want the lowest, but and that's what I always tell my guys. If we can be in the middle, on 90% of the bids we send out, we're going to win, 75% of that, I would say.
Are Facebook leads getting worse, or are the contractors just bad at following up?
Facebook leads. I don't know, because we've always, with the marketing companies we've dealt with, we've always had, awesome Facebook leads. And I probably shouldn't say this because now everyone's going to dump their marketing campaign funds into Facebook, and it's going to be like Google, where it's, $500 an acquisition or whatever. But I think Facebook leads are pretty decent. But you also just got to know what you're doing. You're getting leads off of a social media platform. You're going to have cruddy leads because someone's doom scrolling and they see a Mercy link or they see a next gen link. They might just fill it out because something caught their attention. And then when you follow up with them, they're so short term on memory, they don't even remember. So there's some bad, but I think overall Facebook's pretty decent still.
Love it. What roofing product is overrated in your opinion? What roofing product is underrated?
An overrated roofing product. Honestly, if you want the decorative ridge. The deco ridge or all those, I like high profile ridge, like a Z ridge and stuff like that. And Malarkey only has the deco ridge. So when we sell a Malarkey roof, we do the decorative ridge on it. but like the money that they charge for that, I think is overrated. With all manufacturers, not just them,
Yeah.
all of them. Probably turbine and solar vents too, because I've never had a good run with solar vents.
Why? Like, do they fail or they're just not effective, not
I think
efficient?
they're effective. And I haven't done a lot of them in the last couple of years. So this is going back to kind of like what we talked about with the Malarkey Vista. I haven't been around the new stuff long enough, but I've had some horror stories with solar vents. This is going back to stand behind the customer, like and back stuff up. We put 3 solar fans on a house in Austin, Texas. The gaskets had gotten damaged at the factory for the solar panel wire going into the housing. They leaked in and damaged a bunch of drywall. I told the homeowner, like, before he even got them, I do not like solar fans. I would love to do something else. He goes, I want them. I said, okay. Just like what we were talking about, the customer, it's
Always
not,
right.
yeah. And I mean, dude, it was like $5,000-$6,000 worth of drywall and paint, and that was through my guy's cost, but we ate it. And I just said, hey, I'll put the solar fans back up there because this is another area where the manufacturer took all their liability away. Oh, that's not us. Like, it's not our problem. And I'm like, dude, we can show you the water coming through the video right now in the storm. They didn't care. I told the homeowner, I go, hey, I'll warranty everything on this roof other than the solar fans if you want them back. And he goes, absolutely not. I want static roof vents this time. And I was like, okay, cool. But we stood behind it. Cost me $5,000-$6,000 in drywall damage. I would probably say the most underrated product though, going into that, probably ice and water. Like I
I
love the
agree with
use
that.
of ice. Yeah, people don't they don't understand the properties of it and how much of a safety blanket it is. Like
Mm.
any house we do with solar panels, that whole slope gets ice and water on it
Oh yeah.
because solar guys mess some serious stuff up when they put solar panels on roofs.
Is the solar still a thing in your area? Is it still going on?
Kind of. Like, and I feel like they've gotten even more sleazy than what it was. Like, I could show so many posts like from these like suburban neighborhoods because we're out in the hill country, but we service Austin, so we deal with all of the suburban neighborhoods. And I'm like, oh, another solar salesman's running through the neighborhood on his one wheel offering 0% financing.
One wheel.
Yeah. And I just laugh because it's like, dude, you're like a pest control salesman now. Um, but like when we do a metal roof, I always offer the customers like full ice and water under it because that's what I truly think a lifetime metal roofing system is. If you do synthetic felt under it, I classify a metal roofing system at like 30 years.
Got it. What's one thing roofers brag about that does not matter?
Where do you want to start, dude? I mean, these guys, the courses, dude, I mean, like, I don't know, like, I've wanted to do like courses and just do it for free. Because these guys are the, 99, 199, you'll learn all this stuff and stuff like that. Oh, look, you can get a McLaren or, oh, look, you can get this high mileage Ferrari, whatever. Like, bro, just take care of your customer. Like, that's the one thing I love about, and like, that's the one thing I will brag about a lot is our business would not be anywhere close to where it is without referrals.
Yeah.
And like that's the one thing I'll brag about to anyone is like, I don't care how bad the economy is. Like the one thing I can always trust and believe in is we're going to have a steady source of referrals because of how we take care of people.
So I have two more questions and we're gonna wrap it
Yeah.
up. Great answers so far. What's the biggest sales mistake roofers make in your opinion?
I would say setting up unrealistic expectations for customers.
Hmm.
So going into one thing that's illegal in Texas. So many roofers offer to eat deductibles. Like we're dealing with one today. A customer has a 22 square house or condo, $7,000 deductible, Dimitri. And they're like, we're going to eat that. How? How are you going to eat a $7,000 deductible on a 22 square roof?
It's like half the cost, if not most of the cost.
Exactly. Like, what are you going to do? Just put the shingles on top of the old? Like, not only is that like insurance fraud, that's like felony insurance fraud. Like, and what? You're going to supplement and make the insurance companies hate us even more? But like, I would say unrealistic expectations and all these sales guys, going, there's hail damage up there, put a claim in. Like, dude, insurance isn't the safety blanket for everyone.
But to your point, like if you cannot sell 22 square roof for $7,000, you should not be in business.
100%. But dude, that's like, do you know David Taggart with A5 Roofing?
Yeah.
Yeah, he made a video a couple weeks ago. Did you see that one?
No.
Where he was like, he was calling out the deductible eaters. Dude, it's like such a bad thing. And man, I've had CEOs of banks, I've had lawyers, I've had doctors. Like, it's not just someone that lives in a track house saying that. It's like, dude, it's just, and that's one thing. It's like setting these unrealistic expectations is the number one sales thing that's going to shoot someone in the foot.
Wow. Besides class 4 debacle, do you have another unpopular roofing opinion that you would like to share to get canceled on this podcast?
I mean, I think I just said it. We're like saying all these roofers go up on your roof and go, hey, there's hail damage, put a claim in. Because like, there's so many claims that are like 30%, 40% chance getting approved, and they just throw this Hail Mary every single time. And like, that's what's leading to the downgrade of the insurance world and being able to actually have a claimable claim. And manufacturing damage. There's so many people that manufacture damage down here in Texas. Like, I've witnessed it. And the attorney general and no one wants to do anything about it, which is
100%.
awesome about it. But no, I mean, I want to do another podcast with you at some other time. Let's see what kind of controversial things I can put my foot in my mouth, on. But, a few of my friends were like, damn, dude, you're ballsy going on Dimitri's podcast. I'm like, hey, man, you know what?
It's real talk. It's real talk. We don't,
It
and
is.
that's why people listen and like it. You can't sugarcoat it. I'm not here to kiss anybody's ass. We say it how it is, and that's what people follow. Like if I would sit here and just praise you the whole podcast, who would want to watch that? Or you praising me?
Yeah, no, 100%. And like, that's what I liked. I watched that video you posted, and I was like, okay, where's the mainstream media clipping like certain things out and making me look like this super bad guy? And it was the whole clip. Like I watched it and I was like, you know what? Is it kind of a little egg on my face? Yeah, it's a little egg on my face, but
You did good. You did good. Like, and honestly, some people, it's a little bit edgy, it's a little bit polarizing, but the struggle is real. Like the conversation is real. Do we it's an opinion and everybody entitled to one. I don't think you had bad intentions, and you're saying it, you're laughing about it, you're like, it's a good joke, you openly speaking when you go to ABC Supply. That's what's good about this industry, right? Like if you're true to yourself, to your values, we should not be afraid to say something about eating deductibles, to say something about insurance fraud, to say something about the people damage roofs, or that insurance manufacturers issue unreasonable warranties expectations, right? When you call something out, like it's gonna change. If you want a better industry, say something about it, and then we'll all like get together behind it. But if we all just eat the propaganda, then sooner or later it's gonna be no difference than big pharma. You're gonna
100%. And like, that's what I love about this industry. Like the bigger guys, I'm not saying we're no means the biggest guy in this area. We're a okay sized company. I like the accountability that all of the other bigger guys keep each other. You know, I saw one of my friends, he was doing a huge project, and I saw him overlaying over underlayment. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, I hit him up and I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, bro, I'm saving X amount of square. I'm like, okay, do you know there's not rotted decking under there? And he goes, no, I don't. And he's like, and he waited like an hour to get back with me. And he goes, you know what? On the remaining buildings, because they'd already put some metal up, I'm going to go down the bare decking. And it's like that accountability that we have with everyone. It's cool. Like when you get to that level and you're dealing with those guys, it's not like, hey, we're trying to steal roofs from each other. The guys that we deal with.
Just do better.
Yeah, it's just like, hey, and that's what we made a video on YouTube and it didn't get any traction, but that was the one thing that I wanted to instill in that video too was no matter what, if I lose a roof, I just want to hold standards higher so then my competition has to beat me with as high or higher standards. Because the only person that wins at that point is the customer. Like if that was like my one drive home point, if we lose a roof, I want to lose it to someone better than us because then that means the customer is going to get a better product. I think we do a great job, but like, you know, there might be something where, you know, I don't even know what it would be that would be better than us. But like, you know, if the customer thinks that's a better company, then it's holding everyone at a higher standard.
100%. Brother, it was awesome. Thank you for a great pod,
Yeah.
and we'll do
I'm
another one.
excited to see this one.
Yeah.
Don't be like CNN on this and like cut a bunch of clips out and make it.
It's a bear. Listen. To my credit, from the last one, the only thing we caught was like talk about directory. Like I gave my videographer instructions. Only keep malarkey parts. So that malarkey was like, but this one we only cut out like amps, moms, like you know, like repeats. But we keep it pretty. I mean, as a matter of fact, you have this Zoom, and I gave you you can upload like the entire podcast. Like you have full rights to it, like unedited. I'll give you the full copy.
No, and that's the thing. That's what I like about it. I've always watched your videos and everything like that. And so like when you and me were like, hey, we're going to do a podcast, I was like, this will be fun because it is real talk.
Yes, sir.
And yeah, I hope we can do it again. And I'm intrigued to see what the comments say after this because now they get more than just a 5-minute clip. They actually get to see what the company's about and stuff and not just go, oh, I hope the bearded guy goes out of business.
All right, guys, comment away if you would hire this guy or you still want to cancel him. I'll read all of my comments, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, brother. Good to see you.
Hey, man. Bye.
Roofers and contractors fix the damage. We fix the insurance problem. Too often, insurance companies delay, deny, or underpay, leaving property owners stuck and your work on hold. That delay costs your client and costs you. At the Chad T. Wilson Law Firm, we cut through the stall tactics and fight for full payment, so projects move forward and checks get written. Together, we can anchor the scales and make insurance accountable for their promises.